Hey guys, Kat Calm here with Studio Sweat and Studio Sweat On Demand, and I am here with Dr. DeLuca from Kinetic Impact. And today's topic is how to self-assess your own squat. Because a lot of times when you're in the studio, when you have instructors and trainers that know what they're doing, we can help you to make sure that your squats look good. But how about when we're not standing by your side? So, Ben, Dr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Or Dr. Ben?
Dr. Ben.
Either one.
Okay.
So the squat is probably one of the most heavily debated exercises there is amongst all kinds of professionals. And you'll get down to the nitty-gritty of where do I put my feet? How deep should I go? What's gonna work? Should my feet be in or should my feet be out? And the answer is yes. It really depends on your body. So there's a couple major structures that we wanna make sure have the right kind of alignment so we don't end up with injury. So the first thing that we do with assessing a squat is get in front of a mirror, or you can set up an iPhone to tape yourself and you just try to squat and see what happens.
Okay.
So I'm gonna walk through from a front view, ideally what a squat should look like. And again, range of motion is gonna be dictated by a lot of different things that occur within your own body. So general squat, for me, my feet are gonna be straight ahead. Now, depending on where your genetic background is and your ethnicity is, that's gonna dictate a little bit of the shape of your pelvis, and that's where you might need to turn your feet out.
Yeah, I do turn mine out slightly.
So for Kat, that's probably a lot more comfortable and gonna allow her to get into a safe range of motion and avoid any pinch in the hips. So if you're squatting and you feel a lot of pinch here, one thing you can do is just slightly turn your feet out. For me, I'm gonna start with my feet nice and straight. I'm gonna imagine that I'm stepping on the floor and I'm pulling it apart like this. So the floor is coming together and I'm ripping it apart with my feet. We're just gonna put my arms up here and I'm gonna squat down and then I'm gonna come back up.
It looks pretty good, I'll tell you.
Thanks, Kat.
Yeah.
I've practiced before this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you what it looks like from the side view. Again, depth has to do with a lot of different things. You never wanna squat into a range of motion that causes pain. So you can have muscular burning and the legs getting tired. That is good. But if we have pain like knee pain, hip pain, ankle pain while you're doing this, that is not normal and we need to figure out why that's happening. So
no bad pain.
No bad pain. So from a side view, we're coming up.
Looking good.
And that's about my range of motion. So now we're gonna go what happens when you assess yourself and what can go wrong. So one of the most common things that I see is determining ankle mobility. Is this a factor of why your squat's not?
So many people don't think about the ankles either. It starts from the bottom up though.
It does, yeah. And the ankles could be a huge problem and why your whole squat pattern just isn't working efficiently. So here's what you might see if you have an ankle mobility problem. You go to squat down and then this happens. So you just start leaning forward. So you lose that ability to squat. Or you feel pain in the ankles. Very common issue with the ankle mobility. So what you're gonna do to assess that is break that down and assess, is this my ankle mobility? So there's two things you can do. One real easy thing you can do is put some plates, like a 5-pound weight underneath your feet.
Not kitchen plates.
Not kitchen plates.
Okay.
So a 5-pound plate underneath your feet, and you'll do a squat, and does that get your range of motion better?
So I have dumbbells, which you could also use.
Yes.
Because more people probably at home are gonna have a set of dumbbells, and you can find something else that can raise your heels up as well. For me, I generally often do I call these sissy squats. I'll do them in my doorway. So I've got a slider, I'll pop my heels up on my doorway to do them. So there's tons of things that you can find.
Yeah, so I would come up here, I get into this position, and I squat down, and I got more range of motion.
Yeah.
That tells me that there was potentially something going on with my ankle mobility. And what it is, it's your body's inability to do this motion right here. It's called dorsiflexion. We start to lose that dorsiflexion, or this motion right here. That's when we start having ankle mobility issues. Another really good way to self-assess your ankle mobility, and a way to get your ankle mobility better, is to do this exercise. So what you're gonna do is imagine that this is a wall, like the wall in your house, and you're gonna place like a cell phone right here. So a cell phone's distance.
Do you have a cell phone? Everybody has
If you don't have a cell phone, you probably won't have access to this video.
That's true.
So when we start, the goal with this is to assess ankle mobility. And you're always going to do this barefoot. So what I want to see is, can my knee come forward and get to where the wall space is?
Without your heel coming off the ground.
Without my heel coming up.
Yeah,
so a fault would be this.
Yeah.
Like, look how good I am.
Yeah.
But what's happening is this is coming up, and that's because of tightness back and through here. So we're going to assess that. The other thing, which you can maybe see straight on, is as I go forward, in order to get that range of motion, am I deviating? Is my knee going in, or is my knee coming out to get it? And most likely, it would go this way. So you want to keep this tracked straight forward.
Could it have to do with tightness in the calves at all, too?
So yes,
Okay.
a lot of times the ankle mobility issue is tightness in the calves. So if you notice that, what we're going to want to do is stretch the calves, and on top of that, foam rolling them would probably be a good idea.
The difference is amazing. I did that just the other day. I foam rolled out my calves, and the difference in my ankle mobility was huge. I mean it.
So if you notice that this is an issue and this comes up and it is tightness of calves, what I would recommend is getting on a foam roller, putting your leg over it. We're going to roll that calf out, let's say 10 to 15 times over that calf. Come to here, mobilize this 10 to 15 times, and you're just going to slowly come in, and then we're going to go out. We're going to go into the motion, come out, repeat that, go back to the foam rolling, do this again. And by the third set, if it was calf mobility that was affecting the ankles, you should be able to get closer to the wall, if not to the wall.
And if you don't have a foam roller, and I mean it, I actually do this at home, grab your rolling pin. Seriously, it works.
Rolling pin works good. A hefty water bottle works good, where you can put it underneath here
that's a
and
good
roll
idea
out. All those different kinds of things can work good. Also, if you don't have access to a foam roller, you can stretch your calves. And I'm going to show you.
You can come back in.
I'm back. A really quick, easy way to stretch the calves. So this could be any surface. This could be a curb in the front of your house. You can go to get the mail and take a moment to stretch your calves right here. So you would put your foot right here, drive the heel into the ground, and gently lean forward. For those of you with really tight calves, just be aware this could be pretty intense. You're going to hold it for about 30 seconds, 15 seconds. Switch sides, do that 2 to 3 times, and then go back to that if the roller concept is either too painful or you just don't have access to it.
And then should they try the squat after that to see what it looks
They
like,
should.
to see what the difference is?
So you always want to go back to the squat, reassess, and see, did that have an impact?
Yeah.
Did that help me in a positive way? And if so, you're on the right track. Continue to do that, and then you're going to end up with a beautiful squat. When you're in class, or if it's your house, don't be shy on grabbing something to boost your heels up. Again, if you are ever in class, just let the instructor know what you're doing so they don't just think you're marching to the beat of your own drummer. And then they also have an awareness to come help you. Remember, they want you to succeed.
You're so right. And those are called sissy squats, but they're the opposite of that. They're really you taking care of yourself and making sure that your form is good. They're also great if you have knee issues. Speaking of knees.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about is
Great segue.
the knees. So one thing that happens when we squat, the first thing we'll look at is, do the feet turn out, and then do the knees come in? So you can see a squat, your squat may look like this from the front. Or it could be a variable of one of those
That
things.
happens to me when I'm fatigued. So I start off and I have these really beautiful squats, and then if I start to do too many or my load is too heavy, I'll catch myself like,
So that's really common, that the knees will start to collapse inward.
Yep.
It's really common for endurance athletes to see that, because sometimes the outside muscles that stabilize their hips and pull them apart are not as strong as their bigger muscle groups.
Cyclists, runners.
So first thing you want to do is be aware that that's happening. And if that's happening, you can try to get your glutes to engage in a couple ways. One is really envision that floor coming together. It's like you're standing on 2 tiles and they want to come together, and you have to separate those with your feet. Boom. So as soon as I start really pulling that floor apart and I go down, as I'm ripping that floor apart, you'll see that my legs will start to come out, and I'm fighting that, and you'll probably feel a lot more glutes.
So how should they assess that though? Just literally a mirror check?
A mirror check. Again, a mirror check or a set your cell phone up and tape yourself. That's going to be one of the best ways to do it. When you're assessing the squat, it's good to assess from a front view because that's going to show you this. It's called valgus. That's also going to show you what's going on with the feet. And then a side view, because the side view is going to show you, are you coming forward, right? Or are you rounding your back? So all those things would be assessed that way. And both those are different breakdowns, and there's usually a fix for both those. Another thing back to the ankle mobility is if you're going down and your knees come in and your feet turn out really wide, that could also be an ankle mobility issue because your feet are turning into another plane of motion just to allow more mobility to come through here, and this happens. So a lot of times, again, back to that ankle mobility concept, it can clean up the squat with a multiple different pattern breaks.
Clean it up.
One other tip is for those of you that have like a mini band, which is a small band that you can put around your ankles, doing the side step exercises with it are going to be.
Grab one, Beth? We'll demo it, but keep going.
Yeah, are going to be really beneficial to that. Or even doing squats where it forces your knees in and you have to pull them out. And that's going to help correct that issue.
Yep. Love it.
The next thing that we're going to talk about is the round back. So that's when you see from the side view usually the squat and then this happens. The body kind of tucks up or comes under.
See it all the time. Second to knees over the ankles. Thanks, Bethany.
Right one, so
you always have to make an appearance in every vlog, don't you?
It's a cameo.
Get out of here. This is the band that we're talking about, okay?
Yeah, so this is the band. So again, if you're noticing that there's a lot of valgus collapse or the knees are coming inward when you're squatting, you're gonna simply get a band like this. You'll put it on here. You'll put it on here.
Don't break it.
There we go. So one of the exercises you can do is this, coming from side to side.
Steps, yeah.
That's gonna wake up the side butt or the gluteus medius, the muscles on the side that stabilize. You can do that. Or while you're doing your squat, you can bring this up to where it's right below the knees.
Yeah.
Get into that stance and then squat down. And you'll feel that resistance starting to pull you in, and then you can fight that urge to pull in. And this gives you a tactile cue, really beneficial for correcting that.
And for those of you that are cyclists, when he's talking about that valgus collapse, it's actually quite common in spinners, cyclists, and runners because we tend to almost get over strengthening, for lack of a better word. Come up with a better word for me. On the outside, what's this muscle called?
This is
The feet under the knee on the outside? It's another.
Yeah, so really quick anatomy, so this is really easy. The quadricep muscle is 4 muscles. The 3 of them are called vastus muscles. So vastus lateralis is on the outside, vastus intermedius is in the middle, vastus medialis is over here.
Yep.
So VML, VL, then you have one more called your rectus femoris.
So this one tends to get incredibly strong, and we have a vlog specific to this. So another thing that you can think about if you are seeing that knee in, knee out issue, especially the knee in, is strengthening this area. So we'll put a link in the description to that. So it's another thing that you can focus on is strengthening that guy. Back to you.
So again, we addressed ankle mobility being an issue. We addressed what can happen and ways to correct the valgus collapse if that's an issue. The next thing that we're going to talk about, and again, all these are exaggerated, so when you do it, these might be slight motions.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to see valgus collapse like this when you go down into your squat. The squat might not be the best place to start if that happens.
Yeah.
But if you are seeing it, it might end up just looking like a little bit of knees coming in. You're going to have to really pay attention. So we're looking to see, does this come in at all, right? Do the heels come up just a little bit, because they should be firmly on the ground. So the next thing to address is what happens when we get this motion, this rounding of the back. So what will happen for one is you'll probably have some back pain when you squat. You'll notice that. And again, and it might just be like a slight roundness. It's almost like a dog tucking its tail underneath its leg, and that's what we don't want to have happen.
Tail tuck, yeah.
So one really easy way to kind of get out of that is use a box or a chair, which we have right here.
How handy.
So I'm going to show you from the side view. The nice thing about this is a lot of times people don't feel balanced when they're initially squatting. They feel like they're going to fall. This is great. If I fall, I just fall right here and it's very safe. It's like a trust fall. And then I'm gonna come up. So when I'm sitting back, it's the same concept. It's basically like I'm trying to close that car door that's open, and I got a bag of groceries up here, and I'm gonna get down, boom. And now I'm in a seated position. And as you can see, my spine is still nice and straight. I just have an angle to my body. Same thing, I'm gonna focus on the feet. I'm gonna rip the floor apart, and then I'm gonna stand up nice and tall. And this is a great, safe way to start your squat pattern.
So to assess that, you really need to get that side angle. So unfortunately, if you aren't filming yourself, you're gonna turn your head to the side, and that can throw off your squat in itself. So this is one where I would definitely recommend, if you can, setting up your cell phone and taking that side view. And try to do what's natural rather than really focusing on keeping your back flat, because if that's not what you normally do, you know, you're not gonna be seeing what actually happens, so.
Yeah, and then another cue for yourself, typically if your back is rounding, your knees are also gonna be sliding forward.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have this, or from your own view, it would look like this. So it's gonna be accompanied with this. And what's going on is our glutes and posterior chain, meaning the muscles behind your body, glutes and hamstrings, aren't activating as much as they should. And we're doing the motion primarily with a lot of the quads, the front of the leg, and the low back. So these muscles in this area right here ends up moving. We wanna shift all that back into here. And that's why the chair is a really good spot to do it. And you just progress. So initially you'll sit all the way down, focus, come back up, then you'll get to like a tap, and then you can get rid of it once you feel comfortable.
So are we looking at that more as a progression than an assessment?
Right,
Okay.
you can do that, and then as an actual exercise.
Yeah, I like it.
So-
I used to do that with my Sit and Be Fit crowd, you know, when I taught senior
Yeah.
fitness, but it's good for everybody to go back to.
It's
now
good
and
for
then.
everybody. We will work with some really high-level athletes, and the other day we had a guy with close to 500 pounds on his back, and we were getting him to do box squats
Nice.
with that load.
Did you have a
to work his
question,
depth.
Bethany? She's raising her hand over here, so I will repeat what she asks. What Bethany was suggesting is that when you're doing that self-assessment for from the side and you're using your phone to do that, use the slow-mo feature, because you can really see how it breaks down when you're using the slow-mo feature as compared to just the normal speed. Good idea.
And the other thing too is, don't force your range of motion with your squat. Let it come to you. So if you're doing the slow-mo feature and you notice like it's just at a certain point you see this deviation, that's okay. One way to address that is, once that happens, you can stop, do like a 2 or 3 second hold right there, right before this happens, and then come back up, do 10 or 15 reps like that, and then over time you're gonna develop strength close to that, and you start pushing that range of motion down.
We have people ask that question all the time. How can I get my squats lower? And I hate when people want to force it to the point where their form is not good anymore. I'd rather have them, you know, even go, not even to where their hamstrings are parallel to the ground, if that's not what's going to keep their heels down, their knees in proper position, their back in proper position.
Agreed. So like one way to help get that more range of motion would be addressing these issues that we're talking about, and that's what's stopping you. So here's one thing I see a lot is when people try to force range of motion, I'm going to show you from the side, they do this. So I'm trying to get low, and now I want to get lower. Now I feel lower because my head is lower to the ground, but at no point did my legs get any lower.
Yep.
I just folded over. The next thing too is determining, do you have a true mobility issue, or do you have potentially a stability issue that's stopping your range of motion? And the way that we can do that is by assessing our range of motion. And now if you're at home and you don't have someone to do this with, you're gonna find a countertop or a nice stable surface.
Here, let's switch sides just because I'm more used to that. So we'll show you guys this test.
So
You're gonna be the counter, right?
yeah, so I'm gonna be the counter for Kat, and let me just show you what would happen. So Kat, do a squat with limited range of motion. So just squat. So let's say that's as far as Kat can comfortably get. Come on up before she deviates or gets all over the place. Now I wanna go is there something blocking it within her body or anatomy, or does she have that range of motion available to her?
Let's find out.
I'm the counter.
So I'm gonna actually really trust him. So this again is the trust game. I'm gonna take it down to that squat and then bring it back up.
Come back up. So I'm gonna have her go down one more time. I got you, Kat. See how she's all the way down at the bottom? She's able to get that full range of motion. So that tells me that she has the range of motion available to her body. So if she's having a hard time getting lower or getting into that squat pattern, it's not because the range of motion isn't available to her, like there's a hard
strength
tissue block, or there's a core issue. A lot of times it could be stability, like something through the core is not working. And that would be adding things like plank exercises, glute bridges, some additional movements to develop strength, and those will carry over into a better squat pattern.
All right, cool. All right, anything else we want to talk about? I think we've given the viewers a lot to think about. And again, the idea is to assess and clean up your squats.
Yep. I guess we could do a really fast recap.
Okay.
So the first thing we want to figure out is, do we have an ankle mobility issue? The way we're going to do that is you're coming here, you have a cell phone down right here. Here's your wall at your house. Can you touch it? If not, we need to work this and probably get the calves looser, either by stretching or foam rolling or the combination. Go ahead and stand up. Until those get looser, what we can do to have a better squat or get more range of motion is we can do a sissy squat. Perfect, and you see how that instantly got Kat some more range of motion?
Good.
So we can work it that way.
Okay.
If we notice that the knees are coming in, we try to rip the floor apart and get that to activate, or put a band on them.
Yep.
And then if the body's rounded and you're having a really hard time or not balancing well,
Demo?
Yeah, let's have her demo that one more time. Yeah. We just do
Sorry,
this.
it's such a habit to do.
We do that.
Okay.
And now you do a chair squat. Boom. And again, if that's still hard, if you have a chair, you can always add something like a book or something to make it higher till you feel more and more comfortable.
Okay,
then you
cool.
start decreasing the height from there.
Great. Dr. Ben DeLuca, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that this was a longer vlog, but you know what? If you really want to self-assess properly and clean up your squats, this is what y'all needed. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. And if you do need help and you are in the San Diego area and you need help cleaning some stuff up, you can go over to Kinetic Impact, which is right next door to us. And for those body sculpting, fat torching workouts that include tons of squats, make sure you come into Studio Sweat in San Diego or visit us at studiosweatondemand.com. Thanks a lot.